Welcome back to the Gen Z Speaks podcast. With me today, my co-hosts, my amazing co-hosts, Matt Gutierrez. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am brutally tired. But, we chug on, don't we?
Tired is a state of mind. It's not a state of being.
You're right.
Jenish Thanki, how are you?
Just living life, the usual response.
Always the same
life
answers.
is good. Life is good, you feel me?
All right, so today it's going to be an interesting podcast because we want to talk about the purpose of life. Like, honestly, seriously, just have a conversation about what each of our individual perspective is on the purpose of our existence. But no, I'm not joking. I'm serious. Like, we'll talk about it. Well, I don't know where you guys want to start, but seriously, what is the purpose of life? I can start.
Sure. I want to know your
Okay,
perspective.
What's that?
I want to know your perspective, man.
I have a very simple perspective. So, I mean, as a Muslim, we believe that the job of the human is to fulfill two rights: the rights of mankind, like you people. You people. Why did I say it like that? I mean, like, fulfill the rights of mankind, and second, fulfill the rights of God. And so, we believe like this life is a test for the life that comes after, which is eternal, which is the forever. And so, that's what I agree with that perspective, and that's what I think the purpose of life is. I mean, in terms of like a worldly sense about what you want to do, I think it should be, fulfill your passions and dreams. It's a very corny answer, but I really think that it does come down to that living a purposeful life means you're fulfilling things that you wanted to do, and you're not holding yourself back. And yeah. And along the way, recognizing why you're here, only here for a short period of time, and recognize the bounty of God, and that's it.
What do you say about society's pressure on our purposes? I think a lot of people because you're saying that we should all fulfill purposes that we feel like we want to do in life, but oftentimes it seems like society pressures us to be a certain way or want to be in a certain place at a certain time. So what do you say about that?
So you're saying that not everybody is able to fulfill their passions because of the pressures
No,
they face?
what I'm saying is I think a lot of people's passions are driven by how society deems we should be.
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting point. So you're saying that people have their own passions and dreams based on how society operates? Like they're influenced by other people?
Yeah, exactly. I think that happens oftentimes.
Or even, I would say, just to add on to Matt's point about financial pressures, like a lot of people have passions and things they want to do that in our society is hard to monetize and actually gain money from. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, look, I think as you live your life, you figure out what you want to do. And people change what they want to do based on where they are in life, their circumstances. And sometimes, people change it based on what they're seeing around them. But I don't blame people for wanting to do things because they look up to someone. Like what you're describing is like, look, like a 12-year-old kid, he sees LeBron James play basketball, and he's like, oh, I want to be like this guy. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think necessarily that's what I'm saying.
What are you saying then?
What I was trying to say, Ibrahim, I'm trying to say that generally speaking here, man, people say that you should be, the best businessman out there. You should be looking for the tech companies and trying to get some project manager tech job. Or, in that sense, or you should be a lawyer, or you should be like a doctor, and those are the reasons you should be doing that. But, I mean, law school and, getting your doctorate, that obviously takes a lot of time, and that doesn't necessarily mean you want to do that, right? Sure, it's a successful field, you make good money.
So you're saying stability. You're saying, people want... So you're saying, a lot of society, people value, doctors, lawyers, engineers, stable positions that pay over $100,000. Yeah. That's what you're saying. So you're saying if somebody wants to do something that doesn't pay well, is that what you're saying basically? Or something outside of those boxes? Well, man, isn't that what each of us is kind of going through? I mean, me personally, like I've been trying to pursue film, like what, for the last year and a half, and look, it's a very tough, because it's expensive. It's not like, it's a long-term commitment, and so people don't understand um, why somebody would put in their own money, or like their such a big time commitment, and not see those results be yielded in like a year or 2 years, 3 years. Like it's like a 5, 10 year, 15-year commitment. And I don't know. I mean, like, what do I say to those people who are taking those risks? I say props to them. I mean, that's it. I mean, look, man, like, I I don't know. This is a very tough question. I don't know why we were talking about this now. Because there's so many different answers, man. Like, to me, like, what gives me value is just like pursuing what I want to do and knowing that I gave it my best. Yes, there you go. So like, if I'm doing something that I really, really want, say like I'm making a short film, and I know that I did my very best, bingo, I am fulfilled. But if I know that I didn't do my very best, I'm not going to be happy. And so I guess that's my way of finding fulfillment, doing things that I love and doing my best at them.
I like that answer. I like that answer. Yeah, man. I honestly, dude, the last, I want to say like maybe 6 months, dude. It's just been my views and my mindset has definitely. I think it's changing, and I'm in the process of it right now. I feel like I was all like growing up. I was always very. I feel like I was very money driven, and everyone would tell me don't be that way. Like older people, right? Like don't be that way because do what you want to do, and then money will follow. And unfortunately, like not unfortunately, because I'm cool with the path. I'm 21 still, right? I mean, not in 6 days from now, but let me be 21. Let me be 21 for a little bit
Fine.
longer.
Fine. Fine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving me that. So yeah, so I mean, I'm still, 21, right? And I feel like I noticing that those aspects of that, money isn't everything, and there's a lot more to the world than that. It's just it's a difficult thing to grasp because like the last few years I've just been grinding, trying to build up my bank account, but and now I'm realizing like for what? What is this for? You know what I mean? There's also, I mean, because at the end of the day, look, I know it's awesome, right, to have a Lamborghini. I know it's awesome to have like the biggest mansion in Malibu and to have things like that. But at what cost? At the cost of our time, at the cost of our effort, which I don't disagree with. I think in anything we do, we should provide our fullest effort. I think that's extremely important. But at the cost of our time, right? We're losing out on family time. We're losing out at things that are important to us. Travel time to experience the world that's very limited to us. And what's it for? For people to know our name, for people to remember us, and it's like, do they even really care about us? I think that was my biggest. I feel like that was my biggest goal throughout high school, throughout college. That I wanted to build a legacy. I wanted to build a legacy that would be remembered after I'm gone. And I feel like a lot of people do feel that way, that they want their name to be remembered, because, or else what? What's it all for, right? And we're just like everyone else, every one of the 7 billion people on this planet. But ultimately, it's up to like what makes us feel content and still purposeful, I guess.
Jenish, what do you think? What gives you fulfillment?
This is tough because there's so many different ways to tackle this question, right?
What is the question? What's like?
Well,
we're sticking to the purpose of
first
life.
initial question you asked was, what's the meaning of life? What is the purpose of all this, right?
Purpose, yeah.
Obviously, we got to say that the purpose is what someone gives it, right? That's the first kind of principle, whatever purpose you give it. But then you had to define what is that purpose that you're given. And one of the points you made that I really like is that just doing what you want to do and kind of giving it your all. Because at the end of the day, right, everybody's going to have their own kind of view of life, their own perspective, the way they see goals and their future. And, like Matt wants to leave a legacy, other people want to do other things. So it's all very independent, but I think the commonality between all of it is that it's kind of pathetic if you don't give it your all, right? Because then even when you're older, when you're on your deathbed, you could have been like, if I tried a little harder, things would have been different. If I did this a little different. So even like let's say you give it 100% on your short film and you fail, the film flops, right? At least you're not gonna be like I could have gave it 1% more. I only gave it 99%. I didn't spend all my time on it. Instead of saying that, at least you could have said I tried my hardest and whatever happens happens, right? Some things are out of our control. The things we can control, we must do best. And kind of more psychological point of view, like if you look at psychologists like Carl Jung and Nietzsche, how they kind of saw it was, the whole individuation process, where the goal of your life is to become the fullest that you are, so your maximum potential. And that doesn't mean it pretty much means that you're trying to be the best or the max version of yourself. It's not about being anyone else or being how what Matt said of how society wants you to be like. It's being the fullest version of yourself. And there's a lot of papers on that, but that is also one really good way one can set up a framework for purpose.
I think I'll modify my answer too. I think also one of my purposes that I really aspire towards is whatever it is that I do, it's helping people in some sort of way. So if I'm making a film, right, I want people to, after watching the film, learn something from it, like walk away from the film knowing that, oh, like that sparked my mind. Oh, like that was an interesting point. Oh, like I felt that as well. Oh, like I didn't think about it this way, that way, just to spark a conversation. And so I think along with doing what you love and giving it your best, I think it's also important to recognize, or at least for me, it's helped me that whatever it is that I do, I need to think of it through the lens of, oh, how does this actually benefit people and move society forward in a positive way?
Yeah, I definitely think that's like the more recurring thing. Or how do you help other people? Because I'm learning. So I think, so in terms of like legacy and impact in this world, I was talking to my dad about this other day. I've been thinking a lot about it. Like the whole goal is to have a legacy, is to create an impact in the world, right? And then that's how your name is left. So there's two ways to do that, right? There's two ways to make an impact. And one way is, helping people out and making an impact in their life, right? Because then, you're not only here for yourself. And the other way is, what was the other way? Oh man, totally forgot. But the whole concept here is you help people out as one impact, or you go ahead and take another impact and you join an already existing group, basically, an already existing business, an already existing social group, whatever, and you build your way up there. So you can do something yourself and help that minority, or you can go ahead and build your way in another organization, and that's how you create your impact. It's very difficult to do either one. And so in my opinion, I prefer to create that impact on my own, right? It's not on somebody else's accord. It's based off of my beliefs, my my mentality, how I think people should be impacted, or how I want to impact other people's lives and how they're going to react to it. So I think the impact thing has become one of the more important things. It's definitely more important than, creating more cash flow for myself or building up my bank account, because what's all that for in the end? Like it's for yourself, right? It's pretty selfish.
Also adding on to this, I feel like we've been kind of looking at more of internal thoughts and kind of values of our framework, but kind of looking outwards more. I've been reading some naturalist papers like Nature from Ralph Waldo Emerson, for example, and it's kind of, I think, one also just aspect of life that I want to think about going on in my life is that there's so much beauty out there in terms of just nature, in terms of just the world, people, and I feel like we get so involved in our own minute affairs of work and just stuff like that we don't really recognize all the beauty that's out there, and we kind of forget to appreciate it. So I think it's really important that we go out to see the world for what it is. Sometimes you go on like a hike, you're you can think of it two ways. You can go on a hike and you can just go walk and see the view at the end, or you can go on the hike and see every little thing while you're walking. Right? You see the leaves, you see the trees, you see the animals that are walking by, the squirrels, all of that stuff. And I think appreciating more nature and just things is just so important, and I feel like everyone nowadays just forgets to do so.
I think you guys ever have those moments where you're just sitting somewhere, like you're sitting somewhere and you just have this like moment of, oh wait, I'm a human, like like this consciousness, like what is consciousness? I just have these moments where I'm sitting somewhere randomly, and I look around, like I look up at the sky, I look at the trees, I look at the people, and I'm just like, whoa, like I'm human, like like how does this work? Like I have consciousness. It's like I don't know, and sometimes that humbles me because I think of like God, and I'm like, oh wow, there must be like a creator to all this, and like we are just what, like one small element of the grandness of the world, and we think we have it bad. Come on now, like we're blessed to be human and be here and have the opportunity to live and have consciousness and have feelings and have thoughts and emotions, dude. You know how lucky we are, bro. We could have been a plant, we could have been anything, but God chose us to be human. It's beautiful. Sometimes I think about it, and it kind of just like I don't know, it brings me back to the reality in Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a paradox, man, because when you think about it in the moment, right, it's like one of the scariest feelings out there. Like I'm one of 7 billion people. I shouldn't have even been here. Out of the hundreds of millions of sperm, like I was one child. It's like a scary concept, right? But then you think about it the way you're describing right now, and it is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things because it doesn't. You don't. The thing is with consciousness and perspective, it can be any which way you want it to be. It doesn't have to be the scary way. It can be the happy way. Just because one truth exists doesn't mean another isn't true as well. And so I think that being alive is just, we should just embrace it. Another point I wanted to bring up is I feel like there's a couple levels of like purposes in life. And as human, like as ourself, right? I think we owe ourselves to do something that we want to do. Like personally, like I just want to travel. Like traveling is it. I want to see other things, and I feel like you guys are very similar mindset in that regard. That you just want to see new things. You want to see, what God put on this earth, and see, like, kind of contemplate why He put that there, and how beautiful it really is, and talk to people that have had different perspectives in life. Like that's one of the beauties of traveling. When you're somewhere, you're in like some restaurant, right, some local restaurant, and you're just chatting with random people. And you don't even have to be talking about anything important, but just by their responses and by like, how they're talking, their tone of voice, it creates such a different feeling. How they're so much more different than you here in California. I think another impact though, or purpose in life is, we're all going to procreate eventually, right? And we have to be able to level up like our kids, or else it's like.
You mean having kids?
Yeah. I guess having kids, man.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, man.
It's funny.
I know, maybe the word choice was dumb, but regardless, like, we're all gonna have kids one day, and it's our duty to set them up to, like, I guess it's in terms of legacy as well, man. We all have a last name, right? And we all should have the duty of leveling up our bloodline, so, like, they eventually get a little bit better, and then their kids are better, and then it just evolves from there. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same way about that, but I definitely feel like I was definitely given a lot of opportunity, like, with my family, and I feel like I should be able to give my kids more opportunities so they can be even higher than I am.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Let's do it. No, yeah, you're right. I think, yeah, it's so a lot of people say that their goal is to just whatever they did, just make life easier for their kids. So like if you went through something financially, you want to make sure your kids don't go through that. No, some people say like,
No, I agree. I just don't think it works that way. I've thought about this, and I feel like even though life becomes easier, it doesn't though. Like just because financially things become easier, it means that somewhere else along the line, somewhere else from their birth to them being 18, there's gonna be other problems, and they're gonna be a lot smaller than financial. Like that's a huge burden to have financially, right? But like having a smaller burden and that carries the same weight as a financial burden, that's like, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I agree. You know what I've realized? Some people run away from problems and conflict in life. But the thing is, one of the beautiful parts about life is that it is hard and there are problems and there are conflicts and nothing that you want is easy to get. I mean, there are some things that are easy to get, but the things that you really, really want, it's hard to accomplish that for a reason so that you embrace the struggle. Like, what would life be if everything you wanted you just could get? That'd just be a utopia. Everybody would be this happy. The whole point that I think is so beautiful about life, at least, let me be like frank, like life in the United States, like people have opportunities for the most part, and life here is exciting because if you work hard and you give it your best, you can accomplish a lot of things. And I know it's not true for everyone. Yes, there's systemic issues, but for the most part, if you do what you're supposed to do, you're able to accomplish and just live a lot of the things that you've wanted to. Yeah, so whenever I get sad, man, or depressed, like I think about that, like it's supposed to, like this is like life is ups and downs, like it's not just like a steady thing, but it's hard to embrace yourself in the sad times and depressing times. Like you feel like this is it. You're like, ah, oh, damn it, like I failed at this, it's over, but it's hard.
You know what
to
keeps
pick
you
yourself
grounded?
back up. What?
What keeps me grounded? So like, I think you remember that video. I say mountain highs and valley lows, right? So my point in that is you have to ground yourself. Like we all know that there's ups and downs in life, but when you are feeling up, I think the goal is to know that a low point is coming. Like you can't get any better than this right now. And then when you're at your low, know that there's gonna be a high point that you're at a shitty time. But it doesn't mean it's the end. It just means that better times are coming. And that really, in my personal view, it just grounds me. It makes me feel, I guess, more human. It makes me feel like if I'm feeling up, like some people will get arrogant, some people get all confident, and then other people when they're at a valley low, they get very depressed. They feel like imposter syndrome. They don't feel like they deserve anything. They don't deserve where they're at in life. And I think the way to get around that is to trick your brain into the opposite.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I haven't thought about it like that, but it's always the opposites, right? When you have a really good time, you're bound to have like you can't have happiness without sadness, right? So that's kind of like the whole concept. But I think another thing we need to talk about is kind of the internal self-talk. I feel like everybody has some sort of self-talk that they do, and for me personally, it's really hard when you're having those negative times of your life. It's hard to combat that self-talk because it's kind of just like saying shit to you, and it's just hard to ignore it or change it and change the perspective on it. Obviously you can do things like, obviously one thing that helps is like working out. For example, when you work out, that self-talk kind of improves because you're feeling better of yourself, you're kind of being productive in a way. So there's activities you can do, but I think that negative self-talk is really hard for a lot of people to combat.
Dude, I think you hit it, man. It's extremely hard for people to come out of, especially in our generation where everybody's just so interconnected. You just see like, so it's two things, right? In our generation, we see how everybody is in the world. And so I think the whole concept of this is, we could feel kind of shitty about ourselves more often now than before. But there's also a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of good advice that people weren't able to hear before, or they would hear a lot later in life. Ultimately, it's up to you. In my opinion, I feel that everybody feels down. I feel like people feel more down nowadays because negative weight carries a lot stronger than positive weight. I see like how people, view the internet and everything, and, oftentimes they don't take other people's positives as actually good things, like good for that person. In their head, they say, damn, why am I not that way? Why is my family not that way? Such and such. But in reality, it should be like good for them. It should be all positive feedback. Ultimately, my point here is it's up to you. It's up to you to decide whether you want to be down or if you want to be up. It's all about your discipline. It's all about what's in your mental state. And if you're choosing to be down, then you're going to feel down. But if you choose to be happy, to be, try to be, if you choose to be positive and to try to create a more positive impact on yourself, on your future family, then that's also a decision. These are all decisions that we make. And I might sound cold for this, but I don't have sympathy for that. I think everybody deals with stuff in life. And I mean, nobody knows what you've gone through. Nobody knows what I've gone through. Nobody knows what the viewers have gone through. Everybody's gone through tough shit, man. And it's up to you ultimately to say, fuck, I've dealt with some tough shit, but I'm not going to continue feeling like this. I'm going to buckle up and I'm going to do something. I'm going to feel better. That's my opinion.
So, for me, sometimes, it is good to deal with your emotions. So if you're feeling sad, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. When I feel sad, I do embrace it. I do tear up. I do reflect on it. And I don't really think about anything else except for that one moment. I think sometimes just living in that moment, just literally just going through and breaking down what you're going through at that current moment can be super helpful too. Because sometimes when we start thinking about the future, in those times when we're down, it gets, I don't know, it just gets in my head sometimes. But going back to your point, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say it's just overwhelming.
I just want to say also, Ibrahim, to your point, I think that's so true, and I've kind of recognized it in my own life, where if you're feeling sad, angry, whatever emotion you're feeling, it's not good to just ignore it. I think what you have to accept it, and you have to you have to embrace it, right? You have to fully embrace it and understand why you're feeling that way before you can move on. If you just ignore it and just I'll do something out, like, even I think working out is good, right? Like, working out is a good way to get your mind off things. But if you just ignore those feelings and start working out, and those feelings are still going to be in the back of your head, and there's going to be times in your day or in your life where they're going to reemerge and kind of just ruin your day or whatever you're doing. So I think it's really healthy, and I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, and that's why we have therapists and things like that. But it's really good to embrace and understand where these emotions are coming from, and then accept it, then move on, right?
I have a question. So what do you think about this? What do you think about, like, weighted problems? Some people, not some people, just say me, for example, right? I feel these two problems, right? And then I think about it. I think about my issues. I think about those two problems, where they come from, why they're happening. But I still feel the same weight in both. But one is clearly less important. What do you think about that? Why wouldn't you, or would you suppress that, or would you try to? Does that make sense?
Well, does it invoke emotion?
Well, yeah, you feel sad either way. So for both problems, like one weight, like say my grandmother passed away, right? And that's holding a strong weight on me. But also on the other hand, like, it just something significantly less. Like maybe for people, okay, so maybe a viewer out there, their grandma passed away and they got rejected to a college, but the weight is still holding the same. But even though it shouldn't, like, that's not even comparable.
I think both, and I'm not a therapist or anything, just from my personal experience, I mean, you should understand both of them and kind of just, I don't know, I think you should look at both of them and try to understand why you're feeling that way, because, yeah, it might be a smaller issue, but all, smaller, bigger issues, that's all perspective. None of that is, an objective point of view. So I think no matter how big or small the issue is, if it's invoking an emotion that is negatively impacting your life, you should take a look at it and try to understand it. And I don't know why you need or maybe you can describe, I don't know why you need to kind of weigh the different ones. Why can't you just look at both of them? Like, why do you need to just tackle one of the problems, right? I think you can...
No, yeah. I was just asking your opinion. I agree. I think you should either way. The way I deal with my problems, at least, is... I try my best not to show it to other people, but it doesn't mean I'm suppressing it, if that makes sense. I'm dealing it on my own and, like, compartmentalizing what's important to me, why it's important to me, and how I want to tackle the issue. And oftentimes just thinking about the problem, that's what helps me get over it. It's not other people's advice to me. It's not, you know, yeah, it's not other people's advice to me. It's not, telling other people stuff. Telling other people stuff, it feels good. Like, but that's like, I've also noticed it's kind of momentary when you talk to people about certain things. And then like, when you start talking, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but you start like telling somebody something and you may not even be that close to them about it, and then you just start spilling your guts, right? And you start saying things that maybe you shouldn't have said in the past, like shouldn't have said before, or maybe that person doesn't even like deserve to know that exact experience or feeling. And so I think that dealing with on my own and then realizing what I should say to somebody, what I shouldn't say to somebody, that's what helps me.
I used to be that one. I used to be the person who refused to share how they felt with other people. In the past year, I've just learned to confide in people that I trust. And it's helped me because part of the process of sadness and depression is that you feel like you're alone and you feel like nobody understands you. But the thing is, the reality is, because the human experience is so communal, we all go through very similar emotions and ups and downs. And, sometimes it's okay to open up to someone because they will be able to provide you perspective and insight into things that you don't anticipate them to. And it's something that it takes a long time, especially if you're kind of against it in the beginning personally. It takes some time to get used to, but when you get used to it, you're able to deal with those emotions better. I'm not saying to not deal it internally. You definitely need to. But I don't know, at least for me, I just have to now talk to someone about some things that I feel pressed about. Not everything, obviously. Like there's some things that I refuse to talk to people about, but I also think it's not healthy to just deal with everything by yourself. You definitely can, but I don't know. You don't have to go through the solo route sometimes. That's what I've kind of learned, at least for me.
Yeah, I think talking is pretty important, especially with someone that you trust and someone who will hopefully, be supportive regarding whatever issue you have. But I also think, with the rise of social media and like all these podcasts, shorts and reels, there's a lot of just advice and just life tips and stuff that's going on in life. That's going on in social media, and I think that stuff is truly negative because I used to think before that these like videos online can help me out, help me understand, and to a certain extent they can. But what I've realized as I've grown older is that a lot of problems, the answers just come from within. It's so internal. Like sometimes the answers just come to you, like when you wake up or something. There's certain things that can be found online about motivation or maybe some stuff like that. But the truly enlightened things that I've figured out about myself and about life have come through me and my internal voice, I guess.
In like human interactions, right? Not just like looking at like an artificial thing on a screen. I think that's
Yeah.
also important when you talk to people that have had, you're having a human interaction with somebody, and you talk to them about their experience, and you're not just watching somebody talk about their experience, because there's actual feedback, right? Like when I'm talking to you, Jenish, or you're talking to you, Ibrahim, like there's feedback that you give me, right? And it's based on your experiences, rather than if I'm watching something and maybe I'm trying to correlate it to myself and trying to correlate those feelings to myself, doesn't necessarily actually relay through. Also, to like Ibrahim's point earlier, I think that made me think of something right now, man. And I think it's just when you do talk to somebody, not talk to somebody, but when you are like sharing those feelings, it definitely should be somebody that like you trust, right? Like that's what you said, like you wholeheartedly trust. And if you don't even trust your friends that you feel like are a type of family to you, then it's like why are you even like close to them? Like they're not really family. I feel like with my friends at least, I tried like my close friends, like you guys are probably my closest friends here, and I trust you guys. Like I feel like you guys have the best intentions for me, and I genuinely have the best intentions for you guys. And I think that's how it should be. I feel like there's a lot going on, especially maybe not in our generation. I think in general, I think this has always happened, but people just like you said, they kind of feel alone. And so they just try to hang out with people in order to get away from that feeling of aloneness, even though it's not benefiting them, even though these people probably don't have the best interest for them. I think it's just a very hard thing to combat, but it's important to keep in mind that to have people in your circle that you trust.
I feel just real quick. I feel like
Yeah.
that's so true, and one thing that kind of restricts that communication is the societal stigma around it, because as friends, right, we don't really talk about our issues that much. Like we don't talk about our personal things, what we're going through, because that's not like normal. Like, you know, when we were hanging out, we're just talking about normal shit, right? And then um, you know, once you do have problems in your life, it's kind of hard to break that stigma and come out to your friend and say, "Hey, man, I'm going through this. I'm going through this. What do you think?" Like, just, you know, someone to talk to. Even though your friends are totally, you know, down to hear you out. You know, I feel like all of us are down to hear any of us out. Like, you know, if I have a problem, I'm sure you guys would listen to me. But it's just that whole idea of what if they think I'm weird, right? I think it's that
It's
we
the
need to break.
initiation factor,
Yeah,
right?
like it just feels like, you know, what if they think I'm a weird for having the problem or something? You know, it's just kind of that breaking through that idea.
I want to go back to your point. So, a lot of people like to, say that social media is creating a lot of toxic culture where people see other people on TV, on their mobile devices, and they're like, oh, they're living this happy life, and why am I not doing it? But I think the flip side to that is it can be inspiring. If you are seeing someone who's traveling and you want to travel, it can be inspiring. I think it's a lot of the thing is how you interpret things. Like if you're interpreting it in a way like, why is he doing it, not me? That's not good. If you're doing it like, oh, how did he do it? Let me do that as well. That's a more positive way. I think a lot of things with social media is how people who are very confident in themselves and have the ability to compartmentalize things tend to not get get negative energy from social media. So I think it's, I'm not saying everyone, but I think for the most part, I think that's accurate. At least what I've noticed in my experience. Like if you're really confident with yourself and you know what you're doing, social media is good in that it's interconnected. You see the entire world, and you see like people doing things, doing that, giving advice on things that's helped me sometimes. Like, oh my God, I didn't even know that you're thinking about the same thing, and I didn't look at it through this lens. So I don't know. I think social media actually can empower people. It just depends on how you interpret what you're watching and what kind of stage you are in your life. And be cognizant of the fact that it is a recorded video. It is someone posting, so you don't know the whole reality. But I don't know. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's. I think that was like I was trying to get at that too. It's just like your perspective and how you deal
yeah.
with things, or how you see things, right? I think so I remember in one of my philosophy classes in college, the professor was talking about Buddhism and how Buddha says that all the problems in the world they result back to envy. It's like this giant circle, and envy causes every single problem, and one problem relates to another, to another, to another. And that just, I think that kind of shows me. I mean, I don't know if Buddha knows all or whatever, but he definitely a smart guy. And seeing that perspective, it kind of says that human natures are naturally jealous creatures, right? And that's something that we have to combat. That's why I think it's easier to feel. I think it's easier for people to feel envy over somebody else's life rather than inspired. Um, but I definitely think like you're saying, that it's a choice. Like we can see things through a different lens if we choose to see things through that lens.
To flip that around,
Yeah.
Nisha actually said that envy's a really good thing, because when you're envious of someone, so first of all, envy is such a natural feeling. Like we're not trying to be envious, right? You see someone and it happens to you, become envious of something. And what Nisha said that is that you should you should look at what you're envious about, because that's something that you want in your life. So kind of what you were saying about flipping that perspective, right? So you should use envy to kind of understand what you desire most, because it's if you think about it, it could be a tool, right? If you're envious of something, why are you envious of that, right? There must be a reason, and it can help you kind of figure yourself out as well.
I yeah. I think about that sometimes, and if you envy someone in a positive way, it can encourage you, to be honest. I think there's a very fine boundary between jealousy and enviousness. You know, having a certain degree of enviousness about something or someone can be a positive thing. Again, I think it all goes back to like what your intention is. Like a lot of people just it's fine. I don't want to go. I hate it when people say a lot of people. Like what the hell? Like a lot of people. I don't know. I haven't met most people in the world. I don't think I'll ever meet most people in the world. A lot of people. I'll stop. What am I trying to say? I wanted to say that yeah, well, actually, I'm a little mad because he reminded me that I turned 22 recently. Like, you know, you're talking about like 21, you have 6 more days, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels like time is flying, man. Like, we're 20, we're in our early 20s now. We just graduated high school. Where'd all the time go? You know, I don't know.
I went out the door.
What's up?
Time went out the door.
Okay, bro, I
But
have
but
11 hit. Yeah.
I think, bro, we're still. I think we've realized this, dude. I think we're talking about this, and when we turn 20, we realize how scary that checkpoint was for us at 20. And I feel like after I turned 20, I started doing stuff I wanted to do more. I started doing cooler stuff. I started getting out there more. I started traveling more. You know, when I tried to I mean, my point is, when I was kicking ass through work, through like professionally, monetary wise, I was more efficient with my time because I know time is now extremely, extremely finite. And I don't want to spend more time working than I have to. If I could spend my time as efficient as possible at work, doing what I have to do, and then going home and doing my side projects or, you know, finishing up my work and traveling for some time, I'd rather do that. It just tells you how you could be more productive and still do the things you want to do. Like, we're 21, dude, and how many countries have you been to? Like, we're do you know how fortunate we are to travel as much as we've traveled? Like, all three of us, like, it's insane.
I have a love and hate relationship with time. Sometimes I think, no, I do, because look, like we graduated high school 2018, and it's been 4.5 years. It feels longer, to be honest. It feels longer, but like I don't understand this whole like concept of feeling. Like, you know how sometimes people say time flew by, but like time didn't fly by. It went according to its pace. Like, you know, like Einstein's theory of relativity, yeah, like, you know, time is relative and obviously there's boundaries there. But time, if you think about it, like if you break it down, like time doesn't go by fast or slow. It goes according to time. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It goes
Like,
according to what you do with the time.
yeah, but time in its essence is not flying by or slowing down. It just goes. Like, you know what I'm saying here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or hey, that's bro, like I gotta tell you guys, if you journal your day every day, you realize how much stuff you do, and it just brings you back to the reality that, oh, there's 24 hours in a day and I did all this or I didn't do all this. And if I were to have journaled these last 4 years, maybe, you know, wouldn't think that, oh, time flew by. Like, oh, we just graduated high school.
You would have been
You
more
know?
cognizant of your time.
Yeah, like more aware. Sometimes I think the problem when people say time flies by, they're not aware of what they're doing with their time, you know? Like we're not aware of what you're actually doing. Where is all the time going? Where is it going? Like 24 hours in a day. You sleep 8 hours, you work 8 hours, let's assume. What are you doing with the last 8 hours? You know? If you're doing
Scrolling, man. People are scrolling.
Scroll. Yeah, it's dude, that's honestly that gives me a lot of anxiety to think about. I do it myself. Like I scroll through stuff and I don't do it as much as other people. I will say I'm proud of that. Like not doing more than an hour and a half maybe. Is that a lot? I don't think that's a lot. But some people, dude, they go 5-6 hours scrolling TikTok, Instagram. And it's just like, "Oh my god."
Let me check mine, dude.
Your
It
screen
hasn't-
time, Jenish, what's your
yeah, it's
screen
not-
time? I'm really curious.
I am at 4 hours today. Yeah, I mean, social media on average, I'm on 2 hours.
That's 2 hours. So let's
It's a lot.
let's make you
I mean,
feel
most
bad.
of the time, let's be
Times
real.
7 is
I'm in the
14.
restroom.
What's up?
When I do go on, I'm in the restroom.
Yeah, but still, like you're overextending your time period in the rest.
Yeah, I am.
So 2 hours a day, 7 days in a week. You're 14 hours, right? 14 times 4 is 60. So 60 hours a month. Wow. 60 times 12 is what?
5 days. Oh no, that's like 3 days,
No,
bro.
60 hours in a month you're doing
My
on
time
social
on
media. 60 hours.
My time on social
Yeah.
media is about 1 hour and 20 minutes a day.
That's a healthy amount of time. That's healthy.
I don't know, bro.
I think
I
it
don't
should be
even know what
30
mine
minutes,
is.
to be honest.
I'm trying
wanna
to. Oh, you have a Samsung. You can't.
Have an
check.
Android? Yeah, I don't know how to check
Oh,
that.
dude.
Yeah,
Well, anyway, I think what I've been doing, mine used to be higher than that. But I mean, I became cognizant of that a couple years ago, and I dropped it. It was down to like 45 minutes a day, and recently I just like at night I just go on there. You know what I mean? And then in the restroom, whatever. Yeah, and so I became cognizant of that, and that's when I started like working out more, and that's like that was my downtime, if that makes sense. My downtime became working out. And then when I came back inside, it was like that's when I would hang out with family rather than going to work out, then having more downtime and getting less sleep. If does that make sense? Like that's what was happening with me.
something that I'm struggling with, right, is having that healthy work-life balance. But I'm also realizing that to get to some place in life, if you want to do things that are monumental and you want to be one of those people that just surpasses the 99% in terms of what they do, you have to be okay with making sacrifices. There's just no other way of going about it.
Yeah,
And it's hard. It's hard to make those sacrifices, man. It's hard, but I think
I always think
coming
of
to
Whiplash.
terms. What's that?
I always think of Whiplash, the
Whip-
movie.
Yeah, man. It's coming to terms with the reality that to get to the place that you want in life requires a ton of sacrifices, some that you really don't want to do. But coming to terms with that allows you to get there. But it's that coming to terms part that can take a really long time, and sometimes the ship just sails away. And boom. Like there's no going back.
And those sacrifices, people contemplate on it a lot, right? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? And that's what makes
Yeah.
that's what makes time go too, right? I mean, you just sit there and you dwell on your thoughts, and that like gets people down. That discourages people, and eventually, then they feel, oh, it's been a year. What the heck? And that's hard. I think that's the hardest part, right? The day to day, you can get over it, but when you go a year and you realize you haven't done what you said you were gonna do, nobody has to know, but you know in your heart you effed up, right? And that's really difficult.
You know what pisses me off? This is seriously like it pisses me off. When I meet people, they say, "Oh man, I've been trying to do this for the last 2, 3 years." It's just I don't have the time. Like I don't have the time to do this. Or it's like, oh, it's yeah, I'll get to it. I will get to it one day. It's what? What do you mean? If you really want to do something, just again, I think it goes back to guys like living in that one moment, like just the present. All we can do
Yes.
right now is control this right now, today, like right at this hour. That's the only thing we can control. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, and if you try your best to do that for a certain period of time, I think it can yield a lot of positive results. At least from my experience.
I agree. I used to get angry like when I would hear that stuff, and that that just like caused unnecessary feelings. And the way I got around it is just realizing that creates lower competition for myself, lower competition for the people that want to get after it. That's how I see it.
No,
Yeah, man.
I
Less people on the playing field.
No, man. Sometimes, no. Okay, so sometimes, so say like, okay, there's this guy, one of my friends. I just recently met him. Sure, he's my friend. He was talking about how he has a domain name for his acting website, but he hasn't really posted anything on it for a year. Like he's been looking for representation, and I'm just like, or he also wanted to do stand up, and he's like, yeah, dude, I've been writing jokes for the past how many years, and I just couldn't do it. I understand that, it's hard to do it, but at a certain point in time, it's like, what the hell am I
Time.
doing? Yeah. I'm really scared about that. Like, wanting to do things and just sitting on them and never committing to them, that's my worst fear. I try my best to avoid that as much as possible. But I think sometimes you fall victim to that.
Yeah, complacency is scary. I do think about it because I think humans are also naturally competitive, and so I embrace my competitiveness. And the way I embrace it is seeing, and the way I don't get mad at people kind of makes me like, I think I've convinced myself that I should be kind of happy about it when people kind of complain about their lives. And you know, it's really unfortunate. Maybe I shouldn't see things that way, and that might be a detriment on my part. But it doesn't mean I feel negative feelings for them. It's a way for me to get around being upset about their decisions. Like I can't control their decisions, right? And so if I can't control their decisions, how can I think about this? And that's just the framework that I've created, so I don't feel that way. Um, but yeah, in reality, I do feel like that's an important thing to see that other people aren't doing things that you are doing, and it's okay because not everybody has it in them either, and that's okay too. It doesn't mean they're even a competition. It doesn't mean they're better or worse than you. It definitely doesn't mean anybody's worse than you. It just means they might not have it in them and they have a different path. What do you think, Jenish? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, everybody has their own kind of uh, way they're gonna approach life, and it's gonna be different, yielding in different results. So at the end of the day, it's just about
How do
you
you
know
feel
it.
about the complaints though?
Uh,
Other people complaining.
I used to complain before, but then I realized like, what am I doing? Like, there's no point, there's no benefit in complaining. If shit happens in life, you just kind of, okay, let's see what I can do better next time, or you learn from it, right? Um, just complaining is just kind of pointless. It's just a absolute waste of energy, in my opinion. The energy could go to so many different things, and you're wasting it on complaining.
I think we take something for granted. Like seriously, I think we take for granted that like we have like us as a group of friends. Like it's a really solid group. We all bounce off of each other. And sometimes whether it's because people are shy or because they just haven't found that group, it's difficult for them to even get the mindsets that I think we have that are pretty strong mindsets. I guess. I think that definitely helps like our confidence. That helps a lot of things. And I feel like maybe we take that for granted sometimes. And so that's another thing I think people should definitely try to find if you're feeling like kind of lost in life or like you don't feel like you know how to get to the mentality like we're talking about or get to a certain mindset. You are with who you hang out with, man. If you want to be better, you got to try to find those people, and the only way you find those people is you talk to more people. You talk to more people, you get out there more, and eventually you're gonna hit somebody, and it's up to you at that point to either want to hang out, or whatever, bounce ideas off of them, and I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with the people who have the right mindset is so important. You know what is very sad though? Some people surround themselves with other people who they know are not doing enough, or like they just surround themselves with people that are just like yes men or yes women. They just say yes to things, and like they don't challenge their friends to get out of their comfort zone in a healthy and positive way. And people do that because they want to make themselves feel better by seeing the people around them not excelling as much as they're excelling. And man, like we're talking a lot about like shit we see, like people that piss us off, but I don't know, sometimes um I do think about that sometimes.
No,
And like
I
why
think
why do people do those things? Like what's going
I
through
think it's
their
definitely like
mind?
a source of just a validation. You want to feel good about yourself, so you surround with people that are not. I don't want to compare in terms of levels and stuff, but like not at your, uh, I guess I'll
Yeah,
just say
like
level, right? Like not at your kind of, it could be financial or even intellectual, whatever capability, right? Um, but what I've noticed is when I hang out with like some friend groups who are financially doing way better than me or doing way better in terms of like business and stuff, when I hang out with them and I talk, my like energy level and my like me wanting to do stuff increases so much, it's actually insane. Like when I hang out with those people, I'm like, dude, let's get this, like let's get, like we're gonna do stuff. And it's literally just talking with those people gives me that energy. It's crazy. So I think hanging out with people that are, you know or hanging out with people that you want to be like in the future, that is just, it gives you another type of energy, I think. And especially for me, it's really powerful.
Yeah, that whole concept of validation, that's like that makes me feel pretty bad inside when people like tell me like I'm maybe it's a good thing, you know, maybe some validation's good, like you're doing good, but once in a while, but then it's like complaining. Like if say I'm complaining about something, right? And all you guys are saying like, "Yeah, screw him, screw that dude. You know, you're right, Matt. You should have kicked his ass." Like stuff like that. What if I was wrong? Like if I was wrong, I think as a friend, as a true friend, you should be able to say, "Hey, dude, like I don't know if that was right, or I don't know if that was cool." And at the end of the day, it's up to me to decide whether I was right or wrong. But the people that just go and tell their friends and just they're just supportive, uh, in the way that they just want to validate them and just be, you know, the friend to tell them what they want to hear. I don't think that's a friend, in my opinion. I think that's somebody that really doesn't have your best interests in mind, and that's all it is.
You definitely, if you're a good friend, you have to know when to stand up to your friend and be frank and honest with them. If you're not standing up to your friends when they mess up, you're not a real good friend. It's just as simple as that. I want to validation this concept that Jenish, sorry, this concept that Jenish brought up about validation. It's also something that I'm kind of struggling with, like how do I seek my validation? Is it when people watch a film I make, be happy about it, or is it more internal? Like, is my validation like knowing, like going back to my point, like, oh, I did my best, that's all I could do, and I'm validating myself. But sometimes people need outside validation to validate what they're doing, man, and it's like it's crazy to like fit in those two differing things.
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
should be a combination of both, right? I mean, that's how I see it. If it's just one, it doesn't make sense. If it's just external validation, then you're never gonna be happy inside. And if it's just internal validation, you won't know if other people like your stuff, for example, like a film. So I think it has to be a healthy mix of both. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Dude,
It's
that's so real quick. What Ibrahim said right before that, about how like I didn't give up and stuff like that is such a hard concept to get around. To be cool with how like the results turned out just because you didn't give up. Like a lot of people, a lot of people with visions and with goals in life, they feel like they just didn't give up and at the end of the day they failed. And that's just like it's such a hard concept to get around that it wasn't really failure, that you didn't give up, and that's not real failure, but the feeling to get around that is just very difficult, man.
one thing. Oh man, and thank you to Instagram and TikTok. I don't know who was talking about this, but they were saying forget about failure. Like it's just remove that from your dictionary, and they're right. Like if you fail at something that you really want, it's not failing, you're learning. It's only a failure if that's the end. Like a basketball game, right? The Lakers are playing the Clippers and the Clippers lose. That's like if that's the final game of this. Okay, but that can't happen because it's the West. God, it's okay. If the Lakers and the Celtics are in a finals game, game seven, and the Celtics lose, then they failed, and the Lakers won. But like, you know what I'm saying here, right? Like
For that
it's
for that
only
season, it's not
even
over
for
yet.
that. So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like failure is not a real thing. If you're gonna continue doing what you failed at, you're just learning. That's all it is. Like so yeah, like people think they failed because they didn't get into their dream college or their dream job, or one thing didn't work out. They failed to pay their bills. Well, they didn't fail, right? It's something that just didn't work out. So you learn from it, and you don't learn to repeat from it, and you grow from it. Actually, I don't know. Like if you fail to pay your bills, how do you recover from that? There's
By
there's
doing
degrees
better.
to it. There's degrees to it. I'm getting
For
tired.
sure. I think what it gets down to, man, is I think people are very scared of vulnerability, and that vulnerability translates to like people won't do certain things, right? Go ahead.
You know
Go
what
ahead.
people are scared of? They're
What?
scared of going through the same thing again and getting to that
Same
same
result.
level again. Yeah, result. That's what people
Yeah,
are scared of. That's why people
that's
give up
true.
so easily because they don't want to go through what they just went through and be at that same point. But that's where the boldness comes in. That's where great comes in. Like if you really want
Yeah.
something, you are willing to not be able
Gone.
to get to that point over and over and over again. Like that's just how it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and the people that don't start in the beginning, I think they're just afraid of that vulnerability that they can fail, and they'll just stick it out in their comfort zone, and that is not a healthy thing. People that just stick it out in the comfort zone, they're going to realize one day in life that they didn't do very much, right? And that's not a good feeling. I know people that feel that way, and it's a very scary thing to turn out to be like 45. You're creeping up to halfway through your lifetime, and you realize that you haven't even tried to do what you want to do, and now you have real responsibilities. You have more than family to take care of. You have more than a house mortgage to take care of. You have a lot more on your plate. And to realize that, wow, back in my 20s, I didn't have very much going on, and I was just afraid. That was the only thing holding me back. I had no other responsibilities rather than my fear. And that's a crazy thing to even see, too.
One last thing I just want to say is I'm realizing more and more is a lot of people sometimes want to help others and they start living for other people. Like if you love someone, some people just start living for that other person. There's degrees to that. There's a healthy balance to have. But I think it's always important to just prioritize what you really want. And I'm not saying in a toxic way, but just be cognizant of your individuality. Like don't lose yourself in the process of helping other people. Because when you do that, you know, if you completely just lose sight of yourself, I don't know if you'll be happy. I might be wrong here. Maybe it's my youth speaking here, but I think, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I definitely get what you're saying. I think, especially even when we're talking to each other, the only way that we can give our opinions is based off of our experiences. And oftentimes, like the problems that we have, our experiences carry heavy weight on us. And to even combat that heavy weight, to even combat, giving our opinion based off of that heavy weight, it's just difficult because, we're living back through our own experiences. And, it might be through, good heart, like we don't want the other person to go through something, or we want them to take a separate path because we've seen something in life. It's difficult to also realize that everyone makes their own decisions, and they might not even choose the path that you're telling them. Maybe they're just trying to hear that different perspective, but either way, they're going to do what they're going to do. And so it's hard to give your experience and see the other person make decisions, even though the end result's probably not going to be the best for them, but you also and you carry that, right? Because oftentimes, like when we're talking to each other or talking to our family and friends, we care about them. We have the best intentions for them. And we see the decisions that they make, and although you know what's going to happen because you've seen it, maybe you've seen it multiple times, and that person hasn't seen it at all, and you know what's going to happen because oftentimes history repeats itself, right? It's with human nature, and so just not noticing, sorry, but knowing that everyone's going to make their own decisions, and your experience doesn't have to relay into theirs. That's important to remember. Jenish, or you want to wrap up now? Or another
I don't
topic?
think I have
cool.
anything to add. I think you said it beautifully. Everybody has their own kind of way they're gonna approach life, and you can try to live for them and do as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be their decision to make.
Quick advice. I think this is important. I think that this has helped me a lot. It's like don't give your input unless it's asked for. I think that's helped me a lot. Like when somebody's talking to me about something, I'm gonna let them talk to me, let them express how they feel, and not already have my 2 cents ready. Let them ask me for my input, and then I'll give my 2 cents. Because otherwise, it's like now I'm not even giving my opinion for them. I'm giving my opinion for myself.
That's
And I
two
think
different things, though. What you're saying is active listening. Listen to someone before you try to solve their problem. It's not that what you said in the beginning was that you don't want to give input to someone unless it's asked for. Nah, like come on. Like sometimes
well,
people don't
also,
ask.
sometimes people don't even want your input. They just want an ear.
Yeah, but like if someone, yeah, but if someone who you really care for, you have to stand up. Like you have to give your input. If you see something wrong and somebody is going through a very self-depreciating like cycle, you gotta give your input sometimes. There's moments. See, that's what I'm saying. Like it all
Yeah,
just depends
it
on
depends levels.
circumstances. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that's helped me in my head, because before, like I told you, like earlier in the conversation, I would say things and then I would expect something, and that would anger me and that would frustrate me. And so what's helped me with that is not setting the expectation for myself that something's gonna happen if I give my input.
I think we've reached that natural conclusion where all three of us have said what we needed to say. What do you think? Yeah.
Yep.
End the podcast. And I hate the fact that we're ending it in such a tired way, but it is what it is.
This is a draining conversation.
It really is. It really is. Maybe because it's, yeah. Well, I hope someone listening finds their purpose. If you made it this far, what are you doing? Why are you even listening to us? Just, how are you wasting your
How'd you
time?
make it this
Go
far?
do stuff.
Yeah, you gotta go. Just get up from your bed or whatever you are and go do something. Stop listening to us. All right. Cool.